Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph Labella.
And I'm Ron Sen. There's always a lot to talk about in sports, and the first idea I want to bring across is guys have got to disabuse themselves that things are the way they've been. I'll give you three examples. First, the murder conviction of George Ugly at the University of Virginia, a lacrosse player who literally beat his girlfriend to death. He's serving a 23-year sentence for murder. Second, Boston University hockey pretty much has become an embarrassment with players out of control, alcohol problems, and a lot of other problems. And now we find out today Boston College has a football player who taped illicit activity with a young woman and one of his teammates. It's not acceptable. It's not okay. It's not going away. And if you don't behave properly, you're going to be off the team, except at BC, of course.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with the coaches. Jackie Parker, I grew up at Parker in Somerville. You know, I knew him when he moved to Melrose. As a matter of fact, I used to play basketball with him at times. And I can't believe he's letting this go on. I think a lot of it has to do with the assistant coaches. They're supposed to be watching these kids, checking on these kids. And to me, it almost seems like the older Jackie Parker got, the less he was, around, especially when they won that last championship. They were all partying. They were all naked outside in the court, and he wasn't even there. He should have made sure someone was around to watch them.
Sometimes it just feels that the priority is winning. As long as you're winning, then all bets are off as far as proper behavior and responsibility.
Yeah, but BC too, the reputation. I mean, they were so far ahead of BU, especially with the hockey, and they have their football team, and to have something like that happen. But again, I think it comes down to the assistants. They're constantly going to be on them to make sure they're doing the right thing.
Well, you look at BC was at one point a top 25 football program. Now UConn is the best team in New England, and on the East Coast, Rutgers is one of the best teams. I don't think people would talk about Rutgers and BC in the same breath as far as football right now.
Yeah, and UMass is Division I now.
Well, UMass is so far
they've gotten clobbered, but who knows what's going to happen with that program?
Right. You'd think that they'll work hard, and if they're playing a top-notch schedule, so that's going to attract some players.
Yeah, BC has had some tough losses, though. They could have beat Northwestern last week. Who they lose to? Virginia? They could have beat them earlier on. Was it Virginia or Louisville? One of those two teams.
I don't know. Just they weren't on TV last week, were they?
No, the last 2 weeks they haven't been.
So, anyway, there's a lot to talk about. One of the things basketball coaching is really our thing. We coach 10 months a year, and wanted to emphasize the importance of tempo. As a coach, you have your team establish the tempo of the game with defense. That really dictates the flow of the game, the nature of the game, and then it becomes important to use the players and the skill sets they have to play the tempo you want. If you have a lot of big, slow kids, and maybe you want to play half-court basketball and zone defense. However, if you have athletic kids who can run, you want to play an up-tempo game, force the action, score in transition, but also play smart basketball dictated by score, situation, and time. We've heard some things in the past about, well, it doesn't really matter, these are kids, and we don't agree. I mean, you have to play the game the right way, and for the players to appreciate the game, they really have to learn how to play the right way.
Yeah, and you want to dictate the game to the other team. I mean, when these coaches are going to have these teams, the good teams. Now, last week, we're playing most of our games now against AAU teams this fall. Normally, we give the girls a little break during the fall, but because this is the last year, we've been with them for 4 years, and they've improved so much, we wanted to give them another chance of improving more. And we're playing AAU teams. Last game we played an AAU team, the first game we played last weekend. I was really impressed with the tempo that our girls played at. That team came out at them hard. I mean, the coaches were all over their players, and you can see the intensity, and our girls just matched it and surpassed the other team. And it was just good to see that they've reached that level of play, Ron, where they're that type of a competitor where they're not going to back down from anyone.
Right, and as a coach, you can't bring that to the players. The players are the ones who are on the field or on the court, bringing the intensity that you can't teach them. They either have it or they don't.
Right, and then, you have some players who, we're fortunate enough, these players love playing basketball, and we try to not make it, during parts of the season, like the summer and the fall, we get them together maybe once or twice a week just to keep them going, because we know, like, we're playing all these AAU teams, all these other girls and other teams are playing AAU. So we started this program years ago where the girls keep playing, but, you know, there's not that much pressure on them in the off season. But it's great just to see, you know, I mean, they've reached that other level now. There's no team that they're going to go up against that they're going to be, I mean, they're going to back down from. I mean, these girls just went at that team the other day. What was that team's name? It was one of the AAU
Mass
programs.
Evolution, I think.
Evolution.
Well, the other thing, of course, in sports is always stories about personalities, sometimes new, sometimes old. One of the issues that came out of this week, the Monday Night Football game especially, is the role of replacement refs. Now, I think the National Football League has made a serious error going with replacement refs because the quality of the officiating has really gone down, the game's slowed down, and the National Football League always talks about the integrity of the game. They won't do anything to compromise the integrity of the game. Well, so much for that.
I think this is going to be the last week, though. I heard they're in serious negotiations right now with the refs, and I think it's going to end. I don't know if it won't end in time. There's a game tonight, the Giants, and they probably won't be ready to ref this weekend, but probably next weekend you'll have them back reffing.
Well, I think the players and the coaches have pretty much had it.
Oh, yeah, the Patriots lost because of the refs. I mean, that's Gronkowski on that run.
Right. That's
actually a hold, but they don't call it because his hands are inside. If they're outside the shoulders, it's a hold. So, and then he let go. And like even the defensive back said, he said normally they don't call that. Even though he grabbed me early, his hands are inside, and then he released. And he goes, normally they don't call that. So these new refs.
Well, usually what you'll see is that the linemen and receivers who wear gloves, they always wear gloves the same color as the opponent's shirt. So that way it kind of blends in. It's hard for you to tell what exactly they're doing. And that's why they want the shirts as tight as they can, too, so that they're hard to grab onto.
Right, and the players are taking advantage of these refs. They're whacking a guy after the play, and they're not being called. So it'll be good having them back.
Now, I didn't see Monday Night Football. They had a segment on Peyton Manning's velocity. I don't know if you saw that, but they showed him throwing different passes, and he's throwing about 5 miles an hour slower than he used to. And he had 3 picks in the first half.
Yeah, but I think he'll pick it up. You know, he's just back from the injury. I think he'll get stronger and stronger as the year goes on.
I don't know. Sometimes he might have nerve damage after all this neck surgery. In Cleveland, before the previous story was that Art Modell died, and the more recent story is that Jimmy Brown is coming back to be part of their pregame halftime ceremony with the Browns. Now, anybody who's young didn't get to see Jimmy Brown play, or Jim Brown. Brown had played for 9 seasons, left at the peak of his career, and he averaged over 100 yards a game for his career. Nobody's ever done that except for him. I mean, just the greatest football player I ever saw.
Yeah, I mean, back then I was a big New York Giant fan. There was no Patriots. And on one station to be the Giants, and on the other station to be the Cleveland Browns every Sunday. And my father loved Jim Brown and the Browns, so we had to watch the Browns. I used to go up to the fire station because they used to watch the Giants. So that's where I went. You know, back then you only had the 3 stations back then.
Well, I remember.
But he was unbelievable.
People asked Barry Sanders about whether he was the greatest running back of all time, and Barry Sanders' answer was, "My father says I can't carry Jim Brown's shoes."
He was unreal. I mean, one player couldn't take him down. I mean, Sam Huff for the Giants. Sam Huff used to pile on after he was down. I remember Jim Patton and Lynch coming up, the 2 cornerbacks, and Erich Barnes come up. They would hit him down near the toes. That's the only place they could hit him where they wouldn't get hurt. He used to just roll over you.
So he was about 6'3", 235, as strong as you can imagine, as powerful and fast. Incredible speed.
Do you remember after he got tackled how slow it took him to get? He never was hurt, but it'd take him all day to get up. He'd go in a huddle, then all of a sudden, next play, he'd just blast by you.
Yeah, what a lot of people don't know is some people consider him the greatest lacrosse player ever in America, as he would literally cradle the ball against his chest, crash through people, and stuff it in the goal.
Yeah, he was the one to get Ernie Davis to Syracuse. He went to meet with Ernie Davis, and Ernie Davis was crazy about Jim Brown. He was shocked when Jim Brown went to his school.
And there's some other quarterbacks in the news. Vince Young, $26 million, 6 years, now bankrupt. And he's saying that his advisors stole his money. I don't know.
I don't know why. Remember we talked about this last year, and why don't these teams get involved with these guys? You know, but the agents probably say, no way. They should make sure that so much money goes here,
Well,
I mean, these guys are so young and they're just blowing their money, and people are all around them.
Well, you'd think that at a minimum they'd put some of it into an annuity that'd be guaranteed to be there when they got older.
Yeah, like an owner say, okay, I'm going to give you, you're going to get $5 million, okay? Out of the $5 million, 500,000 is going to go into this account that we're going to control. You'll get a copy of it, and you'll get this back. 500, you'll get this back when you leave our team or retire. I mean, to me, that would be great. And then when the player's done, he'll have like 3 or 4 million more in there, and he'll be older and understand how to handle his money situation better. But I mean, I've said that, and that just goes.
Well, it's the freedom to blow your money as however you wish. Now, what's been interesting so far is watching Robert Griffin III versus Andrew Luck. Both teams are 1-1. So far, after 2 weeks, Griffin III has a quarterback rating of almost 112. Luck's at 75. But you should be two terrific football players going forward.
Luck's the best. I mean, just looking at Luck, he's definitely going to be unbelievable. He's going to be another Peyton Manning. He stands up there. He's tall. Sees the field well. He just does he can pass the ball real well. And you know what it comes down to. I mean, you can't run the ball all the time. You got to. I mean, Griffin's having a good season passing the ball, 2 games. But you can just watch Andrew Luck. I mean, his team's going to grow with him.
Well, this will be interesting because I think RG3 is going to be terrific. They're both well-spoken. They're both team guys. They both want to win badly.
How tall is Griffin, though?
I don't know.
He's like 6'1", right?
I don't know how tall
he is. He just doesn't look as comfortable as Luck does in the pocket.
Well, I think it's going to be great to watch the evolution of their competition and how their teams do. Certainly, Washington with Daniel Snyder, he's kind of a.
He'll pay the money, though.
He's got the money, but he's kind of been not maybe the ideal owner. So, and the fans in Washington, football fans, are, imagine the worst Red Sox fan there is. They're way worse than that. I mean, this one year I was living in the D.C. area, and the Skins had won 10 in a row. They lost the game, and the fans were all screaming out, "Gibbs is a bum." The team
They're
was
excited
fantastic.
there now, I'll tell you.
So now, at the University of Tennessee, there's been controversy. There's somebody called the Freedom from Religious Foundation is trying to ban the pregame prayer. Now, I don't really have a strong opinion about what anybody else should do with their life, but my guess is in Tennessee that's not going to go over really big.
No. I mean, they should kind of like mind their own business and let the people do what they want to do. I mean, you say your own prayer.
Well, right. Well, I think maybe it was Tennessee State. They're having a pregame moment of silence, but apparently this organization is trying to make the argument that there should be a separation of church and state. It's one of those it's really hard to get involved in personally. I think people have to do their own thing. Well, now we move on to baseball. We have to talk about baseball because it's still baseball season. But there's still personalities like Yunel Escobar from the Toronto Blue Jays.
How stupid could you be?
He puts eye black Band-Aids on his face that have slurs against the gay community, and then he says, well, it's just the thing we say. It wasn't meant to be harmful.
They say that it's bad, though, in baseball. I mean, they get all over the gay people, and it's a shame. I mean, in Buckley, who's gay,
right?
He was talking about it yesterday. He says it's still strong. I mean, the Red Sox, it's not as bad, I believe, but I mean, guys like him. I mean, how can you come out and do something stupid like that? I mean, he prepared himself for it. I mean, he spent time putting it on, so it's not just you're not screaming out something at someone.
Well, the Blue Jays suspended him for 3 games. But to me, if you're a franchise or an owner or a business, you want to attract everyone to like you, to serve all of your customers well. Why would you go out of your way to create hostility for any group of paying customers? It makes no sense. It's even if you. For example, in the business community, Chick-fil-A this week announced they are no longer going to basically they said we're not going to support discriminatory groups anymore. Why would you? You want people to eat chicken sandwiches.
Right.
So.
But that's a shame. I mean, just think of the players. I mean, there are gay baseball players there. And
Sure.
you gotta hear about
Nothing wrong with that. So now what's this news about Robinson Cano?
Yeah, there's a story now. It's a rumor right now that he's on drugs. He's on steroids. Well, I don't know if it's HGH or whatever it is, but there's rumors that he's on it and he's going to be suspended. It's rumors right now. They talked to a couple of reporters and they hear the same thing. 2 weeks ago they heard about it, but they couldn't confirm anything, so they kept their mouth shut.
Well, his best buddy was Melky Cabrera, and he's on suspension now.
They're saying that the Latin players, the Hispanics, 70% of them are on it, at least. I mean, you look at the Dominican players. I've talked about it before. Gonzalez, from years ago, played for Texas. He's the first one that was on it. He had 50-something homers. They got him on it. You got Ramirez. You got Ortiz. You got A-Rod. You got Sosa.
Well, speaking of that, no one has won the Triple Crown in baseball since Carl Yastrzemski in 1967, and the Detroit Tigers' Miguel Cabrera has a shot. Now, I'm not saying Cabrera is using anything. He's been a terrific hitter for a long time, but it makes you wonder. And the issue has come out whether, well, Jim Leland said, why are these crazy sabermetricians discussing Mike Trout versus Miguel Cabrera? Well, if you said to me, which player do you want, Trout versus Cabrera? Well, the age difference is huge, but
how do you know that Trout's not on it either? You don't know.
You don't know. You don't know. We can't.
With a body like him, he's big and strong. He runs. He's unbelievable. He's one of the quickest runners in baseball.
Right. Right now, Cabrera's got a
6-point
lead on Trout in the batting average. He's trailing Josh Hamilton by 1 home run, and I think he was leading by 7 RBIs over Hamilton. But winning the Triple Crown is, it's been nigh impossible for 45 years. So that would be a great achievement for Cabrera if that happens.
Yeah, he could get it, and he's been one of the best hitters in baseball. Him and Pujols.
Right. Today he went 1 for 4. So the pennant races are still interesting, and the wild card races are very interesting. It looks like, to me, the Yankees or the Orioles will get in as the division winner, and the other team will be the wild card.
Yeah, the Yankees are looking better. I mean, their pitchers are back now. Nova looked great his last outing. Pettit looked great yesterday.
And the other team that's going to make the wild card in all likelihood is the Oakland A's. Now, what's interesting about Oakland? Well, for example, they have a couple of left-handed hitting outfielders who, why can't we get guys like that? We have Josh Reddick, who's, I don't know if he's hit 30 home runs already or he's close. And then, Jacoby Ellsbury in 281 at-bats has 4 home runs and a 711 OPS. Another player in 221 at-bats has 18 homers and an 886 OPS.
He has 18 homers? Coco Crisp has?
No. Brandon Moss. Brandon
Moss.
Moss.
How about Coco?
Chris must have double figures. But, so the Red Sox have contributed 3 outfielders to the Oakland A's, and some of these guys can actually throw. One of the issues on the Red Sox is apparently Valentine is really unhappy about the way the outfielders throw, and he has the cutoffs be the shortstop and the second baseman because basically the outfielders have such weak arms they can't reach the infield beyond that.
Ross is a pretty good arm.
Yeah, Ross is okay, and Nava's better, but Nava's kind of a mediocre overall player. But Ellsbury in particular has a really weak arm, and apparently the players, when asked to have more outfield practice and stuff, basically saying, no, we don't do that. We're professionals. We don't have to do that. Yeah. So, I don't know what that is when you have outfielders who throw with the lack of ability that they have.
But, you look at both teams. You look at Oakland, you look at Baltimore. They have great bullpens. That's where a good general manager comes in. Not like Cashman. Cashman has just done a terrible job with the Yankees. But they've had injuries, but that's what's carrying Oakland. I mean, big hits, but the pitching.
Well, the best pitcher at this point that the Red Sox have in the bullpen, this is going to sound crazy, is Tazawa. He throws strikes, and after the Tommy John surgery, he's up to 96.
Bailey's pitching pretty good now.
Bailey's doing okay, but he hasn't had very many innings.
No.
But Tazawa, Bailey's closing. Tazawa's in the other key situations, and Alfredo Aceves is on the side of a milk carton somewhere. We don't know where he is.
I don't know, but with Valentine goes, which he's probably going to go, I don't know what they're going to do with Aceves. They talked yesterday about it, and they're still not sure. But he had problems. They had problems with him last year. But now, what are the Red Sox going to do, Ron? Everybody's excited about giving all that, saving all that money. But who are they going to sign?
Well, I don't think there's anybody out there that they're not going to go for Hamilton.
Other than Hamilton, which they should go for. I mean, they say all the fans are saying, well, you got rid of Gonzalez now to $21 million to $23 million a year. You don't want to give Hamilton the same money for 6 years with the drug issue and the problems he's had.
Hamilton really needs a very supportive environment. And he's probably going to get that best in Texas. I hope he stays in Texas. He's had alcohol and drug issues, and I don't know.
But the Red Sox are relying on Lackey to come back, with Lester and Buchholz for that pitching staff, and maybe Morales might be the fifth starter.
Well, something to watch down the stretch is the Orioles are calling up 19-year-old Dylan Bundy to pitch in the last couple of weeks of the season. Now, I don't know about too many 19-year-olds who've been impact players down the stretch.
That's quite a chance.
It is, but at least they're doing something. They have something to watch for, something to be enthusiastic about. I mean, I'll give the Red Sox credit for some of the players are playing real hard down the stretch. Cody Ross is playing hard.
Pedroia.
Ellsbury's
starting to play well.
Right. Well, Ellsbury's on salary drive now. He needs to keep working at it. And but for the most part, it's as ugly as it can get.
I feel bad for Saltalamacchia.
Well,
they're playing with Levanway when he's not hitting. He's got a couple of good hits.
Well, Larry Lucchino's on with it. Now his new thing is the Killer Bees. Matt Barnes, Brent Bryce, Xander Bogaerts, and who's left? Jackie Bradley, the guy at Portland. So.
Someone asked him, what about Bart?
Yeah, okay, there we go.
You see him last night? What was the last?
But, Daniel Bard, he's lost his velocity. He needs a major checkup from the neck up. Well,
they want to leave him alone, I guess.
We'll be right back with our next segment.
Athletic Evolution staff of energetic, motivated, and certified professional strength coaches will help you get to the level you aspire to achieve. At Athletic Evolution, it starts with a purpose and ends with your success. Visit our website or drop into our training facility at 78B Olympia Avenue, Woburn, Mass. Athletic Evolution, giving you the edge.
Welcome back. Tonight, for our sports conversation, we have Jen Gentile from the Melrose Weekly, or the Melrose Weekly. Welcome, Jen.
Welcome, Jen.
Thank you. Thanks.
Normally we talk about the few sports we know anything about, but fortunately we're going to be able to discuss more of the sports we don't know something about, but Jen does. Let's start with golf.
Thanks. Actually, the biggest surprise this fall sports season has been the golf team. They're actually 4-0 right now, and they've beaten every Middlesex small opponent. Next week, if they beat Watertown, they have a good chance to take the Middlesex small title. Actually, the Middlesex Small is now called the Freedom League, which they've split the largest now, the Liberty, and the Small's Freedom. So they will be the Middlesex Freedom League winners if they win next week. And their season wraps up the first week of October.
So they're
things
not taking
move very
naming,
fast with the golf team.
So they don't have naming rights, so it'll be the Labella division and the Sen division? No.
Is that for all sports now? With Freedom?
All sports.
So football's
Yeah,
Freedom now.
yeah. I think there's another league that does it. I want to say the Cape Ann might break up with cute little names.
Now, there's something quite unique about the boys' golf team, correct?
Yes, well, their captain's a girl, Alex Foley, and she's a senior now. She's been their best. She's been their #1 spot for almost 2 years now. Although she did start the season in #2. Paul Payon, who's a wrestler at Melrose, was in the #1 spot last week.
How many players are on the team?
About a dozen.
Now,
Yeah.
how many play on one given event? Do they
Oh
all?
gosh, I'm not quite sure. Probably three, 4, 5. It could be more.
Do
Yeah.
they score it like tennis does? You play against their #1, or they just?
They do. They're #1s and they're
So they
#2s.
play match play, I
Exactly.
presume.
Yeah. Yeah. So and their season wraps up in a couple weeks. So I'm sure it's probably Alex, maybe Paul. They'll see some postseason play. But they've been the highlight of the surprise of the early sports season. And of course, the football team also started last week, or the week before that, and they're 1-1. Brian Real is returned as a quarterback and he's doing an admirable job. He's mostly known for his running, and is very good at it. He's been helped with Dean Anderson and Shane McKinley, who are both very speedy. Dean had a very good game last week. He ran for over 150 yards. They lost by 1 touchdown, Melrose. But Dean has been one of their strongest player, along with Shane McKinley.
Yeah, but McKinley.
No, Ralph and I are relentlessly positive in all things Melrose sports. But, you know, at least from our vantage point, McKinley looked like he could have handled the ball a few more times.
Yeah, especially in the fourth quarter. In the second half, he didn't see the ball really
He
at all.
didn't get it once.
Yeah.
He got it 3 times in the first half, scored 2 touchdowns.
And he scored 2 touchdowns.
Well, one of them was because of Anderson.
Right.
I mean, Anderson made a great run down to, I believe, the 5-yard line.
He did.
And then they gave it to McKinley twice in a row, and he scored.
Right.
And then he had a big run to score the second time.
Yes.
The second touchdown. Anderson's a great runner. He's a terrific runner.
He's hard to take down.
But, you know, I'm not saying Anderson's very good, one of the better runners in the league, which I've seen the last 2 or 3 years. He's a real strong runner, and he's quick. But McKinley is so quick.
Yes.
And he's shifty, and, you know, you get him off tackle, getting him through the hole, he's gone.
Yes.
You know, with his speed. But I just couldn't understand why they're not setting him up for like
Right.
7, 8 plays a game.
I'm not quite sure either. McKinley had a very strong game last season against Winchester, too. I actually remember on the road watching him. And he's been sort of under the radar, you know, because last year they had C.J. Hansen and Spencer Walsh. They did the most of the legwork for the team. So I'd like to see McKinley over the next course of, you know, 5 or 6 games really break out. But I also think Melrose needs to improve or focus on improving some throwing at the quarterback position. You kind of have to have it.
Well, our sense was that this was a pretty substantial upset last week with Melrose losing, and you know it's tough when you're going to have to face the Reddings, Burlingtons, Wakefields when you
that's it.
don't win the games you have to win.
Right, and the Middlesex Small is going to be tough. Middlesex Large wasn't much competition last year. It was Reading, and then not that much competition after that. But the Middlesex Smalls, even Stoneham's 2-0 right now, which is kind of surprising.
Well, they've played an
Wakefield
easy
will be
schedule.
tough. Wilmington's always tough. I mean, they Burlington. So the Middlesex Small is going to be it's going to be tough in Melrose. So they're going to have to sort of think outside the box and find areas to tweak on and you know try to involve McKinley a little more would be good.
I think Rubin's going to be tough this Friday. They won. They beat a Merrimack League team last week. I don't know if it's Drake
Oh, was it Bill Ricka?
Bill Ricka. So, you know, that's usually a good program. So they beat them, and then Reading's going to be real good, I think.
And Melrose had a great season last year. I mean, they really did. They did what they had to do to get, you know, they had a great record going into the Thanksgiving game. It was a heartbreaking game against Wakefield to end the season. But if they do what they did last season, they should be okay. But they have to remember the competition is going to be a little bit more increased this year.
Yeah, they have a good team. They have a lot of talent. I think it's going to come down to their pass defense. We talked about it before the last game, and Winchester we saw it in Belmont. Belmont had guys wide open the whole game, and you really when you're playing and you have Campbell at free safety, but you have Gordon at left cornerback who was replaced by McKinley.
Right.
McKinley did a great job.
Sure.
Gordon's going to have to look at the tapes just to see, you know, how that game went. Anderson's pretty good at right cornerback, but he was out most of last year. And the problem is that the defense, they're putting a lot of pressure on those guys, and they're relying on their linebackers to drop back. And you can just see it from up above that there's going to be a lot of problems this year against the pass. You get a good passing attack. Unless they make some changes, at times slide in another free safety.
Right.
They're just going to constantly have problems.
It looks like when teams overload against them and put 3 receivers on one side, they're not really sure who's covering whom.
It's all experience.
And then the quarterback just has to find the open receiver, which if they had enough time last game, the opening game against Belmont didn't have any time at all.
But I just hope they take advantage. I'm always about maximizing your chances of winning and not using McKinley in the second half. You're not maximizing your chances of winning.
That's right.
You know, when he doesn't touch the ball. I mean, you could set him up so easy with Anderson running and Mercer running off tackle, and then do either a slant or a flare pass or even a double reverse,
Well,
just to get him in the open field.
You know, I think that in most high school sports, you're not going to have an infinite number of talented players. So you want to get the ball in the hands of your playmakers as much as you can and make the other team stop them. I'm sure when they played Burlington, who's running back Odia was written up in the Globe North today, he's going to see the ball a lot.
Right.
So,
see, the one thing about Coach Morris, his teams are always ready to play. They're always ready to play. They're a disciplined team.
Very, yes.
They work. They know they have to work. They're not going to fool around with him as a coach.
Right.
But what I look at is coordinators. They just, at times, I look at and they just want to stay vanilla. And you can't stay vanilla against a good team. You go up against a good passing attack, you got to be ready for it. You can't just rely on your three backs and hope that one of your outside linebacker can pick up the second receiver coming out, because they're not used to it and they don't have that experience right now. And it puts a lot of pressure on them. And if they're not working on those special situations, then the good passing teams are going to burn them constantly.
Right.
Tell us about the soccer teams.
Okay, well, the boys soccer team, they're also a team that were successful last year. This year they're off to a slower start, largely due to losing two of their most talented players in the off-season. Franzi Perot, who's an all-league player for the team, and his brother Deslin have been playing on the team for two solid seasons, and they've been their best scorers. Both of them were taken by the U.S. Soccer Academy team out of the Seacoast United. It's a U17, U18 program. It's it's one step to the professional level. It's Ryan Johnson, who is a soccer star at Melrose High School, who's now a professional soccer player in Chicago, came from this organization. So it's a great opportunity for both brothers, but it's our loss because they were our best scorers.
But you were saying that Johnson did both when he was in school.
Right. He did
What's
both.
the change now?
As of September 4th, they changed the schedule of when the Seacoast United and other U.S. Academy soccer teams play. So they go from, I believe it went from an 8-week season to a 10-week season, and they started earlier or they ended later. Either way, it completely wiped out their ability. They can't play both, so they'd have to choose which one to play with. So the smart money would be to choose a team that's going to probably get you a scholarship.
Now, is there one U17 team?
There
in
is
Mass?
No, in Massachusetts, correct. And this is actually more. This isn't even a Massachusetts team. I believe they're out of New Hampshire. I know there's some traveling involved. I looked at the other teams that are in that, and it's New York and Connecticut, and so I think it's regional. It's the best of the
So
region.
they'll play the East region.
So Franzi's been making. I mean, he was a freshman on that team, playing outstanding. So is this his junior year? I think it's his junior year. And so I'm actually surprised that a private school didn't grab him. But this is probably the better opportunity for him is to play for this team. So it is a great opportunity for both brothers. But I talked to Dean Serino, the coach, and he's really excited for them. And he was helpful getting them on that path. But they're struggling to score right now. They still have good defense. Zeke Veneer is their goalie, and he's exceptional. He does a really good job on the team. So they're not giving up a lot of goals, but they have to really work on offense right now. So that'll be their challenge. They're 1-4 right now.
So now, when does the soccer end where Franzi's involved?
I'm not sure. I think it takes them throughout most of the fall.
And when
season.
he's been playing most of the summer?
He's been playing, yeah.
Well, great. So the simple answer is that the star player of the team has been kidnapped by another organization.
And we want it for basketball season, so they can't have him for that.
Okay. Tell us about the girls' team.
The girls' team is on par to where they were last year. They probably will qualify for tournament if they continue to play at the rate they are now. They have 2 wins. I think they have like 4 ties. They're not scoring a lot of goals. A lot of their games are like 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. But it looks like they're a good, solid defensive team. They have Morgan Phipps at the net. Olivia Downey, who is one of the best athletes in the high school.
Where's she play?
I'm sure she's doing some scoring, so she's not on defense. Natalie Kendall's on defense. Lydia Mays. The coach is really enthusiastic about the team. They're really hard workers. They're fast, and I think they're gonna do well this season.
They got some good young players too down in middle school playing too. Some talent.
Right.
I know we have some girls on our basketball team that are playing soccer that are really,
Good.
really quick. So
Yeah, and just getting back to the boys soccer, I was talking to the coach, Serino, and he sort of mentioned how he feels that the middle school football team is sort of taking away bodies in the middle for that age range of boys soccer. So there's always been a struggle to get bodies on the varsity and the JV teams, and I think it's because there's sort of a gap between, playing in elementary school and then when you get to middle school, it's sort of there's like a dropout of people. But it would be easier for them to build up soccer and on that level, so they can continue to roster a good team on the high school.
I'm kind of surprised that they're having enough enthusiasm about football, especially with the issues regarding head injuries and potential long-term consequences of that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's the middle school football player. I don't know much about it, but I know that it's very popular. People like it, and there obviously is a good amount of kids that are playing. Whether or not they stick with it, I don't know.
yeah, they're coming off of Pop Warner, most of them too. And
Right.
everybody loves Pop Warner. I mean, no
Sure.
one gets hurt in Pop Warner.
Right.
So they go right into the middle school program.
That's
There's
right.
no lapse.
Yeah.
Sometimes for the 8th graders, if they were too heavy, they didn't have a chance to play Pop Warner A.
Right.
So they missed that year, but now they're playing middle school. So.
Sure.
And plus Morris is involved in that too, with those coaches, so that's good.
Yeah.
Well, and then we have volleyball, the flagship sport of the fall.
Flagship sport, yes, absolutely. They're 5-0. No surprise there. I would want to say that I think this is probably going to be the year. I never really wanted to say it because I don't want to jinx it, but it's really hard to find a weak link on the team right now. They've looked really solid in 5 games, as you guys know. Their serving has been really steady. Their passing's been great. They have Brooke Bell back. They have Sarah McGowan back. They're 2 all-state players. Jen Kane has really come back very strong this season. Sydney Doherty looks strong. So their hitting's great.
Rachel Johnson too in the middle.
Rachel and Kayla. I mean, they're going to be tough no matter what up front. And Jill McGinnis, she's been really a pleasant surprise at libero.
She's been tremendous back there.
She really
I thought
has.
Amanda Cometto was going to be the libero.
Right.
But Amanda's playing the back row with
Yep.
her and Allie Nolan.
Yeah, and
most of the time.
I like watching those two. They're both Amanda and Allie as 2 really great servers, and they've been especially
And
Allie's been,
Jill's serving this year is way better than last year.
right.
Well, last year was her first year on the varsity.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but you're right. Allie's serving has been excellent for a
Really.
sophomore
I think she's a
first year.
spin on the ball. I couldn't figure
Well,
it out. I think
right, she's got some side spin on the ball, but what you have is tremendous senior leadership, 7 seniors, lots of experience, most of the volleyball players playing year-round with volleyball as their primary sport. So, add that to great coaching, a lot of enthusiasm for the program, and this really could be the year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I see a lot of pedigree on the team this year. They just look different. They seem they just seem a little more confident. It seems a little more effortless, and they all seem to really enjoy playing together.
Well, you have 3 of the top players in the state on one team, with Jen,
Jen, yeah,
McGovern. No, what's her name?
McGowan.
McGowan and Brooke.
right.
Well,
3 of the top players, and then Johnson in the middle, and then the rest of them.
Right. You put. I mean, it's very hard for one team to have all these players be all league because the other coaches say, well, gee, our team's not terrible. Well, compared to yours, they kind of are. So you have players. Put Rachel on another team. Rachel's going to be an all-league player. McGinnis is terrific in the back.
Cometto and Allie could play.
Right. I
Star.
mean, all those girls are really terrific players. And if you look at the type of athletes they put on the floor for volleyball, they're much more lean, fit, quick than just the other teams you see out there. They don't look like the other teams.
Right. They don't look uncoordinated either.
Well, they pass so well.
Yeah.
But the 2 keys to the team, for the team to be great and win the state, are Sydney Doherty and Kayla Weiland. If they both keep them, because the other one. I mean, I can just see it. Sydney's right there to become a good outside hitter. Some games she looks good. She just needs to keep playing. And by the end of the year, after playing against this competition, if she gets to where I know she can get, and Kayla, if she can improve like Rachel did last year, and Kayla can get to that level of play, with those two, with everyone else they have, they're going to be unbeatable. I mean, I predicted them to win the states this year because I saw them play last year when they played Marlboro, and they played unbelievable volley. That was an unbelievable match.
Right.
You know, and I'm saying to myself, if they can reach that level of play, you know, and the players they have coming back, I mean, they can beat anybody next year. And this is the first year, with all the powerhouses they've had throughout the year, this is the first year I'm predicting them as the top team in the state.
Right.
And, you know, when the pressure doesn't get to these girls. I mean, and I just feel they can beat anybody now.
Well, just position by position, we've seen very few girls who could even start on Melrose right now come from other teams. The best players on the other teams are not better than what Melrose has out there.
Right. Like you saw against Brockton last night, you did the game. Right. I'm waiting to see it on TV. I had a call. I had to go up to Haverhill, but they just dominated Brockton. Now, Brockton's supposed to be a pretty good team.
Right.
They dominated Reading. Reading has played really well. They lost 3-2. Was it?
To Long Meadow.
To Long Meadow,
Right.
real good team.
Right.
So you look at this. I'm looking forward to seeing them play next week, Bishop Fenwick and Arlington Catholic.
Sure.
Now, Arlington Catholic's undefeated, right?
I think they are. I don't know who they've played, though.
No,
Right.
I mean, they're not, to me, they're not in the class of Melrose.
Right. I don't even think Bishop Fenwick's.
No, they're not in their class
They're not what
either.
they used to be either.
But they have good records.
They do.
So now I want to see them go up against a team like Melrose, and I want to see Melrose. I mean, they're going to go in every match, and they're going to be determined to show them. Now, you know, everybody's shooting for them.
Sure.
You know,
And so much of their competition last year graduated seniors. We really didn't. We graduated 2. But this year, every single girl on that floor has playoff experience. 2 years, really. So they're going to have a confidence that I think will carry them very, very far. Very far.
Yeah, you have someone like Jill McGinnis playing libero, where DeRaphael played libero last year.
Right.
Now, DeRaphael was the MVP of the league, and you have Jill playing great.
She
So
is.
you have a younger girl coming in playing that way. And then you have Allie Nolan came out of nowhere to me as a sophomore. She's been playing unbelievable.
Yeah.
She's been so steady with all the other stars in the team. So they're fitting in really well.
Right. The keys to the team are, number one, their defense, and number two, their passing. Because there's very few points that they give away. You know, you'll hardly ever see a player shank a ball anymore. You just, I mean,
Right.
it happens, but not very often.
The game I saw, there was only one service error last night. I don't know, has that improved since you've been watching
They've been
them?
doing well.
For the most part, they've been pretty consistent on serving.
Yeah.
But overall, they just have a high level of talent, high level of experience, and they expect to win.
Right.
So.
But next week's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward just to see them play those Catholic schools.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the non-league schedule is really the challenging part of the schedule for the most part. And watching the game against Lexington last night on TV, I thought Lexington was a pretty good team, and they really handled them easily.
Right.
That's the fun part of this team. You know, they can go out there and show. As hard as those teams come at them, they're going to go at those teams even harder.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part of it. You know,
I noticed Stoneham, I thought last year, was really, you could just tell they're on the verge. They're an up-and-coming team, and I'd like to see that match this. Yeah, is that coming up?
They may play
2
them.
weeks, I think.
It's definitely in the next 4 or 5 games.
And they have to play them twice, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I think keep your eye on Stoneham. I've always thought that Reading was a little overranked. I think Stoneham in Burlington's not awful, but
No,
I think
Stoneham
Stoneham
beat Burlington 3-1 yesterday, I believe.
Right.
I would keep your eye on Stoneham. I think that's going to be a good.
But Reading lost Healy too. I mean, that
Right.
they would have been a real good match. But you know, Melrose is still too strong for them.
And I know Melrose is losing a lot of seniors this year. If they find that they're not as easily replaceable, I think Stoneham might be the team that emerges in the Middlesex Small.
Yeah, I mean, just because Scott's has this program going so well now.
Right.
I mean, everybody's playing. These younger girls, some will pop up next year to help out. Allie and Jill and a couple of other girls are getting some playing
They've
time.
got some strength on the JV team, and you know, players will develop. So I don't think we have to worry about them going back into the netherworld.
But then we have that strong 8th grade class that'll be coming up next year.
That's right.
He's going to have like 4 or 5 of them that can really play, that have been playing for the last 3 years. So at least 4 or 5.
That's great.
The key is Victoria. Where's she going to go?
Well, we'll see what happens.
Victoria's a great soccer player too, and she loved volleyball. So.
Oh.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
We love talking about high school sports,
Thanks
and
so much.
we'll have you back soon.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
We'll be right back.
On and off the court, Visionary Basketball Group delivers programs that empower players with skills for athletic and personal success. Our players undergo learning experiences that position them for positive lifelong achievement on and off the court. With a year-round training philosophy, VBG can assist you in reaching your full potential as a player with conditioning, basketball fundamentals, position-specific training, and skills and drills taught by the best coaches in New England. For more information, visit our website at visionarybasketball.com or drop into our new athletic performance center located at 152 Tremont Street, Melrose, Mass. VBG, complete your vision.
Hey, this is Paul Rabel from the Boston Cannons, and you're watching Let's Talk Sports.
Well, last week was the week of the Cardinal. Unfortunately for the local fans, it was the Cardinals beating the Patriots. We'll get into that. But a lot of people were happy that Stanford beat USC. USC is another one of those programs that's kind of on the fringe of, always seem to have that criminal element out there. But anyway, so I've never seen as many Stanford people as happy as the fact that they beat Southern Cal last week.
I'll tell you one thing, they have a great defense. That front seven for Stanford, they're going to be tough to beat. I mean, they may go undefeated, Stanford.
Well, Oregon's always tough out there, too.
Yeah, but that defense, they really confused USC. They were all over the quarterback. They were blitzing him. Barkley, what's his name?
Barkley. Matt Barkley.
They were all over him the whole game, and they were over there. They did a great job covering the receivers. And against the run, they just did a tremendous job. I heard that the front seven was real strong, maybe the best in the country next to Alabama and LSU. And they're right up there with them. I saw Alabama, too. Alabama looked unbelievable against Arkansas.
Well, let's talk about the Patriots. Normally we're pretty enthusiastic. Last week kind of dented that enthusiasm a little with one of the worst conceived and executed games you can imagine.
After that game, I said to my wife and daughter, I says, I'm not going to stay home another Sunday afternoon to watch them. It was beautiful out Sunday, and I'm home watching that game, and I'm home watching Belichick and McDaniels blow the game for the team. I mean, it was really a disgrace the way they handled the whole situation. Starting with Belichick and McDaniels, they were both terrible in that game. I'm starting to worry about Belichick.
Well, I'll try to find a silver lining. The silver lining is the defense gave up. Sure, they gave up 20 points, but they had a punt block, so the Cardinals took over on the 2, and Brady's interception on the first play of the game offensively turned into 3 points. So the defense really did their job, kept the Cardinals down. And they forced a turnover. We're in a desperate situation. You say, we need a Joe Pisarcik miracle in the Meadowlands moment where, the guy fumbles, and sure enough, Spike forces a fumble in the last minute of the game.
But you know what I don't understand, Ron? And people are saying this, oh, it's great. They have Ridley. They're running the ball well. You got to listen. The other teams want you to run. The other teams, believe it or not, want you to be successful running the ball. So you'll keep running the ball so Brady can't get in the groove. I mean, how can't Belichick and McDaniels understand that? They want you to be successful. Run the ball. We'd rather see you run the ball and get 5-6 yards of carry at times, and then on 3rd and 2, run it again and we can stuff you, than watch Brady get into a groove where he's completing 17 out of 18 passes or 20.
Well, the only thing I can think of is they're afraid Brady won't last the season because he's getting hit so hard.
Yeah, but when you get in the shotgun and hurry up, eventually the defense gets tired. And if you have your best receivers in there like Welker over Edelman, Welker gets open quicker, the quick passes. But what is so hard about understanding that?
The problem with Welker, I don't think it's a salary issue. I don't think it's a practice time issue. I think he's just not as consistent as he was before. He's dropping too many passes.
Well, he dropped a pass in the Super Bowl, which aggravated
No, he dropped one last week.
Well, that pass,
might have been in the sun.
The first game.
No, he dropped one last week, a deep out. It was right in his hands, his 3rd down pass, and he missed it.
But he made some beautiful catches in that game.
Yeah, he might have lost in the sun. I'll give him credit for that. He didn't say anything about losing.
Well, Edelman drops more passes. He's dropped more passes than he's caught in his career.
Well, he's a new man this year, 4th-year player. He's got more experience
that's
now.
That's ridiculous. You know what? It's upset. Belichick's upset at Welker because he told the reporter, "Go talk to Bill. I'm not answering that question. Go talk to Belichick. He has the answers." So the reporter went up to Belichick and said what he said. Mm-hmm. So you know what that's going to do. Belichick goes to McDaniels and says, I want work Edelman in ahead of Welker. Until things don't work well, then they're going to have to work Welker in. But you put Welker in that lineup, you split him out, and you go with the quick passes and the hurry-up offense. You forget, listen, the running game comes after Brady gets into a groove. Number one thing you want is Brady to get into a groove and you get the defense tired. When they have to attack you all the time, the defense gets tired, and you saw what happens when the Giants played them too. When you go with the hurry up, the starting defensive linemen are sitting out.
Right. Well, there's no doubt the Patriots have definitely been a passing team, and they're going to have to be successful throwing the ball to be successful as well. Now, this week they signed Kellen Winslow Jr., which will be
Branch again.
And Branch. I don't know what to expect from Branch. Winslow's an interesting player. He had over 70 catches last season. He'll never be the player his father was, but that would be asking for a miracle.
If his knees are all right, he's had knee problems. If his knees are okay, and he can give him something, until Hernandez comes back.
I don't think his knees are okay, but it sounds like he's a player who plays in pain. That's his MO.
But what do you think of Belichick? It started last year against Washington, Ryan. We were talking about
the issues, a lot of people are saying he's lost his fastball. I don't know.
Well, how do you not last year against Washington when Washington had 1st and 10 inside their 10-yard line with 1:20 to go? Patriots had 3 timeouts. Patriots are up 6. How don't you call timeouts just in case Washington scores a touchdown? They have plenty of time to run the 3 plays, so you're not, helping them out. And then if they score a touchdown, you have about a minute to go to march down and kick a field goal to win the game. What he did is he let the clock run down. Luckily, on 3rd down, with under 20 seconds to go, Mayo intercepts the pass on the 2-yard line. If that doesn't happen and that's complete, and they score a touchdown and go ahead by 1, and there's 18 seconds left on the clock when it should have been a minute, the reporters asked Belichick at the end of the game, and he goes, I wanted them to keep hurrying up. How much do you have to hurry up with a minute to go inside the 10?
Well, there's no doubt that the "In Bill We Trust" mantra that's been going around has been questioned, and you're seeing it more and more from reporters that are the more reasonable people. I'm not talking about Dan Shaughnessy, who's going to do everything he can to insinuate him into the story, but guys like Chris Gasper, who are really articulate and knowledgeable, are asking, maybe Belichick isn't the same guy he used to be.
Well, he's not. He always maximizes chances of winning. Back, throughout the years, the Super Bowl years. But first half, the end of the first half, they're on Arizona's 48-yard line. There's 30-something seconds to go in the half. They have the ball. It's 4th down.
Oh, right.
What they should have done is let the clock run down to 11 seconds, look to get a 1st down the field and kick a field goal. One good pass, they could kick a field goal, get 3 points. If they don't get the 1st down, there's about 5 seconds left, 4 seconds left.
Throw a Hail Mary.
No. Arizona would have the ball, and they would only have 1 play. They couldn't kick a field goal. They would have to throw a Hail Mary from their own 40.
But it was fourth and 10 from the inside the 50 with 6 seconds to go. They could have thrown a Hail Mary, but they punted. What was that about?
But if you're using your brain, Ron, if Belichick's in the game, he's supposed to be the smartest coach in the league, you run it down to 11. You run it down to 11 because, say you throw the ball down to the 30-yard line. You want to have time to get out of bounds or call a timeout and then kick a field goal. So you leave 11 seconds, not 6, where if you complete a pass down the middle, the clock's gone. You're in the 30-yard line. You don't have time to kick a field goal. He lets it run down to 6 seconds instead of 11, and then he ends up punting it anyway. So right there, he didn't maximize his chances of winning. Supposed to be the smartest coach in football. Then at the end of the game, you're down by 2 points. You're not tied.
Right.
If the score was tied, I'd understand. Okay, we'll kick a 42-yard field goal.
Right. Why not try to get into better field goal position?
Or score a touchdown. The way they were passing the ball, they're at the 25. Originally, they were at the 18.
Right.
Yard line. Right. So you have 47 seconds to go. You can run 3 more plays. Brady's in a groove. He's got his. He's in the rhythm of the game. He's looking good. The receivers are looking good. And what does he do? He has them down the ball. They get 2 yards. Well, Gronkowski got a 5-yard penalty. Then they went 2 yards further back when he took a knee, I believe, or down the ball. So now they're kicking a 42-yard field goal. I don't care how many field goals Gronkowski kicked in that game. That's still not a sure thing when you're down.
Right.
If it's tied, that's one thing. You maximize your chances of winning that game first, and you throw the ball. You trust the best quarterback in football in a groove.
It was very interesting that there was very little criticism that I saw of Gronkowski because people felt, well, they played so terrible up to that point. Why is it his fault?
The hold was bad. It wasn't him. The hold was terrible. If you saw the hold, that ball wasn't facing him. That ball was tilted just like that. Look at it if they show film.
Okay.
And when he kicked it, it went that way.
Well,
the hold.
I didn't see the hold.
Like Belichick at the end of the game said, it's not just the kicker in that situation. He didn't come out and say it was a bad hold. But, you know, if you see it when they showed it again, the hold, that ball was crooked this way, and that's what the direction the ball went in. So it was a terrible hold, number one. But you got to rely on the snap, you got to rely on the hold, and you got to rely on the kick. In that situation, when you may not have had to, you could have scored a touchdown to win the game. It's all Belichick. He's just not thinking properly, Ron.
Well, the whole game, nobody could say the Patriots deserved to win that game the way it was played throughout the whole game.
But I blame the coaches. McDaniels, whoever made that decision where Edelman would start ahead of Welker. Is that insane or what?
Well, we're not at practice every day, and you know.
Well, you know what it is. It's not practice. Welker works harder than everybody, Brady says.
Well,
it's because he told the reporter to go talk to Bill, and he didn't like it.
I don't know. I think that
he's pompous, too, at Belichick.
Well, I'm sure he is, but I'm sure the Patriots want to do everything they can to win, and, you know, in the end of the day, it's about performance, not about paycheck or anything else. So
you would think that. You would think that, but he's always gone away from the grain, Belichick, in years when he should have been picking a great pass rusher. He picks a cornerback that doesn't make the team. Well, you know, it's all him. If someone says, if some expert says, well, this is the guy the Patriots should pick, he never picks him.
Well, what's your pick for Baltimore? This week I'll take the Ravens 27, Patriots 21.
I'm going to watch Bambi that night.
Well,
I'm upset all. I think the Pats are going to rebound. I don't think Baltimore's defense is as good as it was. They got a couple of good players out.
Oh, they have Suggs out, but
Reed's still there though.
Yeah. Well,
but I look for them to. I look for the Patriots to win. Like, what was the score you said?
27-21 Ravens.
I'd probably say 24-20 the Pats.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph Labella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.